I heard this week that by saying please and thank you with the help of AI, you are wasting billions of dollars every year. So think about deep research as...
Raheli Sasson is a senior FP&A leader and CPA with deep experience in global tech and SaaS. At JFrog, she turns complex financial data into clear, strategic direction, guiding executive decisions and managing billion-dollar budgets. Raheli is also a champion for AI in finance.
What's your favorite Gen AI tool and why?
I would have to say ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives me the best answers.
What do you believe is the number one technical skill that FP&A professionals need to master?
I would say Excel, but
What about softer human skills?
I think data storytelling or presentation skills.
That's a huge skill. We all have to be able to influence and take that analysis and help it drive decision making. And the key to that is telling the story. If a company's looking to implement some AI training, what advice would you give them?
First of all, you need to...
And now a brief message from our title sponsor. In finance, being accurate isn't enough. You need to be strategic. The new FP&A professional certification from CFI teaches you how to forecast with confidence, build the models that drive action, and present insights that shape decisions. Build the skills, own the strategy. Learn more at corporatefinanceinstitute.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to FP&A Tomorrow, where we delve into the world of financial planning and analysis, examining its current state and future prospects. I'm your host, Paul Barnhurst, aka the FP&A Guy, and I'll be guiding you through the evolving landscape of FP&A. Each week, we're joined by thought leaders, industry experts, and practitioners who share their insights and experiences, helping us navigate today's complexities and tomorrow's uncertainties. Whether you're a seasoned FP&A professional or just starting in your journey, this show has something for everyone. This week, I'm really thrilled to welcome to the show Raheli Sasson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you. So a little bit about her background. She's a seasoned finance leader who is known for transforming financial complexity into strategic clarity. Today, she serves as Director of FP&A at JFrog. She is a trusted partner to executive leadership, delivering measurable financial and operational results. She has managed budgets exceeding $1 billion and possesses deep expertise in forecasting, target setting, annual operating planning, modeling, and financial excellence. Beyond her financial acumen, she is a storyteller and problem solver, adept at turning data into actionable insights. She's also an innovator with a proven track record in process automation, leveraging technology and AI to drive efficiency and create added value. She championed the adoption of generative AI in finance, leading initiatives to integrate AI-driven efficiencies and spearheading global learning programs to equip finance teams with AI skills. Outside of her professional endeavors, she is passionate about great food. I can relate to that one. Unfortunately, my waistline can relate. Fashion, stand-up paddleboarding, traveling, and she is a lifelong learner. So once again, really thrilled to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an intro. It's amazing. Thank you.
Great. So we start every episode with this question. When you think of FP&A, what does great FP&A look like? How would you describe it?
So I would describe a great FP&A professional to be someone who is proactive, who is clear, who is collaborative, and always learning. And what do I mean by that? Being proactive means you don't wait for being asked to do stuff. You anticipate the needs of your partners, and then you care for them. Simplify means you don't use this high jargon. You try to simplify all the things that you talk about in finance and non-finance stakeholder to make them relate to what you talk about. You need to collaborate with all across the departments of the organization, understand what they talk about, understand their jargon, and then give them the best insight and recommendations. And always go above and beyond your job description. And above all, stay curious, keep learning and adapt and be agile.
Great answer. I think we covered everything. We'll just call it an episode. No, I'm just kidding. But I love the proactive. I've heard it said a couple different ways. FP&A needs to be able to anticipate what's coming, right? And help guide the business. So I had one person call it the great anticipator. Or if someone else said it, who's a CEO, I want my FP&A team to be able to peek around corners and kind of help me understand what might be coming and how to manage risk. So I love that. I love the simplify. Because yes, it's easy to get complex, especially when you're talking about finance. And sometimes people look at you and they're like, what are you talking about? Bring it down to my level. So great there. And I'd love to ask you, can you share an example from your personal experience of when you've seen great FP&A in action and kind of what was the result of that?
So, currently I work at JFrog. We are in hypergrowth. So I can give you like my current situation. We as an FP&A team need to support this growth of headcount and make sure we are on track, make sure we are within budget, but also we need to make sure we are agile, right? So if they want to swap and do other stuff than what we initially budgeted, we don't need to stay rigid. We need to be evolving with them and make sure that we are aligning with the strategic goals of the company. So in this scenario, I would team up with the engineers, I would team up with HR, with business operation. Everybody are working together to make sure we are speaking the same language. It's like weekly, bi-weekly meetings all the time to make sure that we are on track. This is for me what FP&A means, to collaborate with everyone and to help the business. And you probably felt it yourself. Sometimes as an FP&A, you go in the directions that are not even relevant for finance. You know what I mean? To structure the headcount map in a different way than what was originally planned. It's not even dollar value, but someone's got to do it, right? So we help the business transform this insight into decision making.
No, 100% agree. There's lots of times what we're doing may not be financial in nature. It has an impact to finance, like headcount and helping with restructuring. I still remember helping trying to map out a whole new inside sales team we're going to have with 100 people. Yes, there's a big cost to the end of it, but I can remember going, okay, we're going to have this many of this, and does that make sense? And not necessarily numbers. You put numbers at the end of it, but it's much more than that, strategic and operational and all those things. And I can imagine in a hyper growth, those type of things come up all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's the fun part, right?
I think so. I mean, that's the part I enjoy, working with the business. I'm not in it for just building the plans. I mean, yes, I enjoy a good model and getting my hands dirty, but I love working with the business and actually seeing when things work, and you see it in the numbers and see that progress. We're making a difference.
Absolutely.
So you started your career in auditing. I'm not an accountant. I won't hold it against you, but I would love to know, how did, starting your career in auditing help prepare you for FP&A and working in FP&A?
So I actually learned accounting and economics in university, and the nature path would be to go and do audit internship. And during the internship, I understand I don't want to work in audit. It just came to this realization that this is not for me. Meaning, always looking back, preparing the reports. I don't reveal my age, but we used to like be in the copy machine and copy invoices all day. It was not fun. But what I did love is the learning about businesses. So I had the opportunity to learn about multiple businesses like real estate, services, high tech, even agriculture. So it really gives you an edge on any other student that just came out from university to learn about all these businesses, what drives them, what's their strategic, and do all this analysis work. That what really caught me, and this is when I understood this is what I want to do. Back then, I didn't even know what FP&A even means, but I knew that this is what I want to do, and this is how my career evolved from there.
Like a lot of people, when you're in college, most people don't know what FP&A is. You might have an idea that I want to be more strategic and involved in the business versus backward looking. But, it's not like there's many universities at all that have even an FP&A course, let alone an FP&A program, right? You got an investment banking or accounting or audit, or you get into a lot of those, but, FP&A you just don't see it as much. Like I rarely get a college student reaching out to me, maybe twice a year or so. I want to go into FP&A. Whereas investment banking, I know people that get, people reaching out to them all the time saying, I want to go.
Right.
And I think that's changing. It's starting to become better known, but definitely it's not something most people know about when they're in school.
I actually see it as a trend that people that learned accounting, they shift gears and move to FP&A, more economical stuff. I think it's fascinating.
I do too. I definitely hear from a lot of people who want to make the switch. Like they get into accounting for a few years and then they want to go into FP&A. I hear from somebody like that almost every week. Rarely hear from the college student saying, I want to go into FP&A right out of college.
Yeah, I agree on that.
So, I want to ask you a question because I think this is something a lot of people struggle with. I've done a few episodes on it. So I know in your profile you mentioned at JFrog, one of the things you manage is cloud hosting costs. Which, right,
Right.
is everybody's trying to figure out how much is hybrid, how much is cloud, what does it cost? What's it been like managing that cost? And any advice you'd offer to people in a hyper growth company, how do you manage that? Because I know if you're not careful, those costs can kind of get out of control. So I'd love to get your thoughts on what that kind of journey's been like.
Absolutely. So hosting cost is it's huge. It's like I believe most of SaaS companies, this is the second biggest cost. So we need to look at it carefully. I would start by the advice because this is also what I did. Take a course. There are lots of online courses, cloud practitioner courses, AWS courses. They're all free. They are very good. It's like basic, but you need this knowledge. And then when you get up to speed in the company, I think the most important is the collaboration. Stick to FinOps. FinOps are your best friends in this scenario. You need to really understand how things work, what labeling means, all the different SKUs, what is storage, what is data transfers, what is everything, all these names, and partner up with the engineering and really understand what drives the cost, the optimization plans that you have, the saving plans. It's like a whole nother world and a whole nother language. It's overwhelming, but this is my advice. This is how I started. So, but the most fundamental thing is, I think it's accountability, right? Because FinOps also talks about it. Teams need to have accountability for their budgets, and you need to measure them. You need to give them budget that makes sense, and you need to follow up on this budget to and make sure they understand their budget. So we are all aligned and serve the company goal. It's not easy. It's very challenging task. Lots of my peers, we talk about hosting all the time. I don't think anyone can say, yeah, I totally figured it out. I can sit on my desk and look at the dashboards. Everything is so clear. But it's very challenging world. And it didn't come up every day that you need to learn a whole another dictionary from scratch. For me, it's exciting. I absolutely love to learn new things.
Yeah, I know you mentioned like you love being a lifelong learner, and so it speaks to that. And I think great advice there. First one that's mentioned, take a course, get to learn the terminology and some of those things so you can talk to the engineers. Because I know I've heard multiple people say you kind of need a standard language because otherwise you're talking about one thing and they're talking about something else, and that can mean very different numbers depending on how they're defining things. I think that's great advice, and I like how jump in and hold people accountable as well. It's really having an idea of what those targets are, and if they blow through them, really understanding why and trying to prevent it in the future. Because it's easy to be like, product people sometimes go, it's just a little bit of cost. We need to do it for this and that and that. And it's like, yes, but we set a budget for a reason. How do we accomplish what you need to with still managing that cost, which sometimes is easier said than done.
Yeah. I see it like when you set a budget, it's your North Star. It's okay if you deviate a little bit, but you know what's your goal, you know where you're going. And okay, now we understand the deviation. And like you mentioned, we learn from it and we understand what we did wrong. Maybe we did a mistake. Maybe we left an environment and didn't shut it down when we needed to. So we learn from it and we go ahead. We go to the next task.
I liked how you said North Star. I think that's a great way to describe it. And also, how you mentioned leaving something on and kind of blowing through the budget. I've heard people mention that before, like not realizing, oh, if we just make this one little change, it will save us 25% or whatever it might be with storage costs. They're not accessing that very often. Why are we paying for this storage cost versus that one? I see you nodding your head. You've probably dealt with all of those.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So love that. Love a little bit of the cloud costs because I expect that to only increase some of things like that, even AI costs, which isn't cloud, but the tokens and how different it can be. It's its own language as well as we start to see, billing for all of these AI projects. So we're going to get more and more into complex costing that can have huge impacts to the business and pricing. So the more we learn these things, the better. So let's jump into the AI side of things. I know you yourself have leaned very heavily over the last few years into AI. You've served as the Gen AI champion at your prior company, Amdocs. How did you become so passionate about AI? What led you to kind of be a champion and lean so heavily into artificial intelligence?
So, a few years back, when ChatGPT came into our lives, I found myself not sleeping at night. Literally, I just typed like prompts and see the results. And I started to learn more about it and get into this like online communities and watch webinars. And I was fascinated. And I started to use it in my work without even thinking about it that this is my work or my life. It just, it's there and it's helping me. And I realized that I use it more and more. And I remember I talked with my manager and I was like, listen, we have to do something with it. Like we need to teach everyone. And she said, it's yours. Go ahead, do it. And I'm like, I will. And this is how I initiated and led, not online actually. It was also live in front of face to face with people and also on Zoom with the global teams. And what I initiated is a comprehensive learning program to learn AI in general and AI in finance because there were lots of courses out there and you can tell people go and learn, there's online, watch YouTubes, but most people don't do it. Some people are very, very curious, but most of them are wanting to learn from somebody that they know, somebody that is close to them. And I think this is the key to the success of this program. When I initiated this program, the responses were amazing. I remember people like it was an eye opener and they finally understood, okay, what I can do with it, how can I use it today in my life or in my work. And I started with simple examples that everybody can use on your daily life, and then moved on to more finance stuff and work stuff. It was really good in terms of creating engagement. I also created community inside the finance organization that together we initiated ideas and talked about cool stuff that we saw online and shared ideas. And the aim was really to have this community that then will spread the words for everyone. In addition, we did a competition like the Shark Tank, if you know this show. So we invited everyone from finance to pitch ideas how they can use AI in finance. And then we took it was like a live show in front of everyone. And we had sharks from inside the company, and everyone came and pitched their ideas. And we had 3 winning ideas, which were really amazing. I'm really like was so exciting. I also hosted the event. It was pure fun to see it go live. And beyond the competition, I think it really sparked more ideas from the teams after they saw it. And it sparked the engagement that we needed to push this idea forward. So it's also, the daily work that you do, how to use it in emails and stuff like that, but also the bigger ideas that people presented in this competition, that some of them we took onwards to develop them and make it happen in the daily work.
Thank you for that. I love what you shared there. I think the Shark Tank, it's a fun way to get people involved, gamifying it and making sure you could tie it back to work. I'm curious, you mentioned early on you were staying up half the night, prompting and learning with AI. How much of that were you doing kind of personal things? Was there something you found in your personal life that you were using AI a lot? And how much of it was kind of professional and trying to figure out how do I use this in finance in those early days? I'm just kind of curious.
It started with personal stuff or just general questions, to check it, how much it knows. What is quantum mechanics? Stuff like that. Explain to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Explain to me like I'm a scientist. Stuff like that. And also plan for me a trip in Paris. I think everybody tried that, right? Make
Yeah,
me
lots of people plan my vacation for me.
plan my vacation, prepare for me a recipe, fun stuff like that. I started with that. And then for work, I remember one time I struggled with this formula, like an if inside if, it's like horrible. And I'm like, do this formula for me. This is what I need, A, B, C, D. And like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I just copied and pasted and I showed it to the team. And some were excited, but one person told me, I can do it by myself. And I told him I could do it by myself, but it would take me like half an hour. And he did it like in 1 minute. So that's what matters. It's not like cheating. I don't see it like cheating. Some people do.
I'm 100% with you. I had to write a complex indirect formula where I was referencing a bunch of different worksheets. And I always hate those because I'm like, okay, I got to use single quote here and double quote there. Just the
Yeah,
syntax is messy. And so I just plugged it into ChatGPT and kind of worked through each step. It took me about 20 minutes. It would have normally, with how complex one, take me an hour. So it saved me 40 minutes. I'm like, okay, yes, can I do it on my own? Sure. But why should I take 40 minutes if I can take 20 and spend the 40 on something that adds more value?
absolutely.
I'm totally with you. I think Excel functions is a great area to use it. I think some people make a valid point when they worry, will we circumvent learning and going through the process just because we can get an answer from AI? And that's always a concern. It was a concern with the calculator, and some people will do that. Some people will still really learn the process, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't use the tool.
Absolutely. We need to check. We need to check. I had this one time that I used the formula and like the result, it looks okay, in the first glance. And then I'm like, something is wrong here. And when I looked into it, I saw it's completely wrong. It's rubbish. So lesson learned, I need to check it very, very well, even if it looks okay. Just do a random check and you're good to go. It still takes less time than do it from scratch.
Agreed. Like I remember early on, I was challenging. It was back with 3.5. How many different ways to do a lookup? Like asking it, hey, give me all the different ways, index match. How would you do it with Power Query and VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP? And 3 or 4 of the 10 different examples it gave me were wrong. And so I shared that with people and showed it when I was doing a self-training to say, it's great, but you got to validate and make sure it's right. You got to know enough to be able to say, hey, is it giving me an answer that's doing what I want?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, as you did these educational workshops, you mentioned, there are some people like you gave the example with the formula, I can do that myself. In general, how was it received and what were some of the benefits you saw from the team? Like, do you see increase in productivity or what did you see from, the team as you did all this and you rolled it out and were that champion?
So there were several types of workshop. There were like keynote speech where you just explain stuff, and they were like hands-on. The hands-on were the best because they get to try with me as I'm typing and sharing online with them. I think it sparks like, oh, I tried that. Oh, I tried this. Let me show you. Okay, let's share ideas. And people are like, oh, I have the same scenario. I will use this trick as well. How to prompt, like I show them how you do like a basic prompt and how you can elevate your prompt and give it more context and a persona and what is the exact format that you want. All these techniques that we all know, I guess, by now, but that was game changer. People actually came back to me afterwards and showed me like, you have to see what I did. I asked him this, I asked him that. It helped me create a presentation. It helped me create a survey. I did an analysis with it. But my best was when I showed them how I used it to be my personal tutor for Power Query. So, all the great solution comes from needs. And I didn't need Power Query, or I didn't know I needed. And I know I need to learn Power Query at some point in time, but I never got to it. And then I needed to consolidate 4 files in the same format into one and give management an update every hour. So what would I do? Copy paste from all these files, and it's just not possible. So I turned to AI and asked it, how can I use Power Query to consolidate all these files into one that within a click of a button, I can see everything consolidated into one file automatically. And within 10 minutes, I went step by step what he told me to do. Sometimes it didn't work. I told him, oh, it's not working. He told me, try it this way. 10 minutes. And I had like a Power Query file that works. I was so proud of myself. So when I told the team about it, I heard in the room, like, wow. I actually heard people say it. And I know for a fact people came back and told me how they use it to do other Power Queries. When I asked, is everybody know how to do Power Query? Only one person knew how to use it. But after this AI training, a lot of people started to use. This is a powerful tool. A lot of people are afraid of it. And I think this is a great way for you to learn, personalized to your exact needs. So you don't need to be afraid.
I'm a huge fan of Power Query. It saved me hours of time. So I love that you shared that example. I also noticed that when you said, sometimes it got things wrong and I'd have to tell him. Did you use the term him because it was wrong? Men do wrong things, or I know that you referred to it as a man.
Yeah, it refers to himself as a man in my chats. I don't know why.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I've had people say different things. I always, it's interesting the different things we assign. Sometimes it's because of the chat. Like I will often say please when I'm asking it a question. And I remember somebody looking like, why are you telling it please? And I heard someone say one of the prompt they used was do please and thank you because it will force you to treat it more like a conversation, which is supposed to be a conversational tool. So I just find myself doing that by nature, but I had people looking at me like, why are you saying please to AI? You recognize that's just a computer. And it's like, yes, I know. Or why are you calling it a man or a woman? So I always find it interesting, the different things we assign.
I heard this week that by saying please and thank you, you're wasting billions of dollars every year. We are, because it's compute power getting to waste. So think of it as helping the environment, not saying please and thank you.
I'll keep that in mind next time I use please and thank you, that I'm destroying the environment. Thanks for making me feel good. Isn't it amazing that somebody calculated all that? It's crazy world we live in, just a cost for all this computing. And one of the new things that I think is fairly recent and multiple different LLMs have come out with is deep research, right? And you shared something just the other day on LinkedIn about deep research. So let's start with, can you tell our audience a little bit of what deep research is? And then we'll talk about the exercise you did.
So think about deep research as someone that goes through all the resources that you need for your inquiry, your question in the search, and back it up with multiple resources. It's not just hallucinations, it's real resources. Analyze them and come up with the result to your question with examples, with backup. It's nothing that we've seen before. We used to ask a question or estimation, and it gives us back an estimation. You can have some backup, like one or two, if you asked it the AI to give you a backup. But in this case, you don't need to tell him go and search for backup. It will go on its own and search the web. And I've seen it use like 80, 100 resources, even more. And it's amazing. In only a few minutes, it would take me months probably to read all of that, analyze all of that, and come to the conclusion. Now you do it within a few minutes. It's a powerful tool for FP&A.
100% agree. I've used deep research on several projects. I've typically used ChatGPT. I know Gemini has one, and there's some others, right? All the different tools are rolling those out. You did so the example you shared on LinkedIn, you did an FP&A benchmarking of professional services for SaaS companies. I think you said you got back about 22 pages as your summary with, 80 resources or whatever. So what did you learn from it? What did it help you as far as business? What was kind of the takeaway from that exercise?
I wanted to learn about other companies that are similar to my company and the industry. How much do they use outsource versus how much do they do it in-house, the professional services part. I also wanted to learn what is the average hourly rate and is it profitable or not? Lots of questions. So it took it few good minutes. Then it came up with this report, like I mentioned. And what I learned from that is, not many companies reveal this information. So you have hints, but it's not disclosed most of the time. But I could get to a range. A range is good. A range can give me a ballpark figure if I'm in the direction or not. I can do benchmarking. Um, it says that most companies are breaking even on the professional services. That's interesting, and that they use it to leverage their upsells to get a net new ARR, not necessarily as a separate business line. So this is amazing result. Like I could have got it from my hunch or talking with people, but when you back it up with data from so many sources with company names, it gives it another it's a validation to your assumptions. It's very powerful.
And now a brief message from our sponsor. You know the numbers. Now it's time to own the story. The new FP&A professional certification from CFI is built for finance professionals who want to lead with insight, not just report the data. With FP&AP, you'll learn how to build real-world forecast models, analyze performance with precision, and design dashboards that drive strategic conversations. You'll sharpen your Excel skills, unlock the power of tools like Power BI and Power Query, and master the workflows top FP&A teams use every day. Whether you're supporting growth, evaluating projects, or presenting to the CFO, FP&AP gives you the practical skills and strategic edge to step into bigger roles. Ready to lead where it counts, build the skills, own the strategy. Learn more at CFI. Go to www.corporatefinanceinstitute.com. Yeah, a great example there, and amazing that, right, you could do that in 10 minutes or however long it takes to come back. And you have something like you mentioned that would have taken weeks or months, or you could have talked to people, but this gives you resources and backup. It just makes you feel much more confident in a decision you're making. So I'm a big fan of deep research. I think there's a lot of great areas in FP&A, like you mentioned, benchmarking, competitors, understanding industries. You're new in a role, have it write you an article summarizing your industry and what the key trends are and read through it. And that will be much quicker than you searching the web for hours. And it will give you, now you can go search those articles and know you're going to places that will probably add value versus looking at 10 sites and finding one that actually, is talking about what you want.
Absolutely. My next level will be to take this document that I received, put it in Notebook LM, and create a podcast, and then listen to it in the way to work. And now I don't even need to read all these 22 pages, right? This is the next level.
Great point. I've used Notebook LMs on the podcast. Just amazing. Like 5 years ago, who would have thought of that? Like, I can go out and just ask this tool to summarize everything out there into a document, then put it in another tool, have it as a podcast, and listen to it on the way to work.
Amazing.
It really is. It's fascinating. So, kind of speaking of amazing, I'm curious, what do you think are the best use cases today for AI and FP&A? Like, what are some of the cases you're seeing that are really helping people in their daily work?
So I would put it in two different baskets. The one is the personal productivity. This is huge. I feel it saves me every day, I don't know, maybe at least 1 hour of writing emails, the presentations, documents, summary of all these long email chains, it's a game changer. I frankly don't know how I did without it before. It's amazing. And the other thing is the finance stuff. So there's the small stuff I would call, like we mentioned, Excel formulas. If you use BI tools, you can build the code with the help of AI. And also, when you think about the bigger picture, now you're getting into the really cool stuff. For example, use machine learning for predictive forecasting. I can share that we are trying to do this, and this is something that most of us would not think about in before 2 or 3 years, right? We heard machine learning, something that engineers do, software developers. It's not related to finance. Maybe fancy companies do it, not related to us. But today, with all this knowledge, you understand the power that is in your hands. So maybe I don't know how to do machine learning models by myself, but I know what the result I can get. So I can hire someone or use someone within the existing team. If you're working in a tech company, you have the advantage. You can lean on one of your peers to do it. And I think this is really going to be a game changer for us in FP&A. Also, the agents. Agents for FP&A also very powerful tool. Imagine if you need to consolidate data from multiple sources. Up until today, you need to go, download, put it all in one file. You can have an agent to do all this. You can have an agent to analyze this data and give you a report without even doing anything. So I think about the future, the near future. This is something that I really want to get my hands on when I'm going to.
I'm excited for agents as well. I know I want to get my hand on the Copilot agent and some of those. I haven't had a chance to really test them, but I agree with you there. I love the productivity. I think that's where everybody should start. Helping with emails, presentations, summarizing reports. Like, I do a lot of podcasting and I couldn't do all the podcasting I do today without AI. It's going to help summarize that and write each of the different posts I do. And then I just go through and edit them versus I remember when I first started, because it would be a month later, re-listening to each episode to figure out, what I was going to write and spending in 2 hours to come up with those posts versus 10, 15 minutes where I get the quick summary and then I can okay, I just need to tweak it and make some changes and I'm done. So it's amazing. So many different areas, formulas, coding. I am also like you. Machine learning is really exciting. I think that's a huge area of helping us forecast better, bringing in external data and then agents. So it's exciting time for sure. I'd love
Absolutely.
to ask you, if a company's looking to implement some AI training, you've been through that in some programs, particularly for finance, what advice would you give them if someone's listening and going, I want to do that in my company? What would be your advice for them?
First of all, you need to lead by examples. And I'm talking to all the leaders, all the managers. You have to lead by example. You cannot expect your team to be active if you don't show, like, on the everyday basis, like, look what I did. Look how I used AI to help me do it in 5 minutes. Look at the presentation AI helped me do. Stuff like that. And you start to build confidence and show the team that it's okay to use AI. It's not cheating. Just check yourself, validate, like we talked about. You have to do learning. If you want to bring someone in, like instructor, preferably to do it with real live examples from their daily lives, to make a preparation beforehand to show them the real use cases that you are handling. Very powerful. Gamification, like we spoke about, really create engagement within the team. And think big how you can leverage the ideas from the team. Make a space for knowledge sharing, and people will come with ideas. It's amazing. People have great ideas, but you start small with the productivity stuff, and people will come with from the ground up with amazing ideas, and you can start to pick the ones that you think bring the lot of value, and start to implement or do a little POC, see if it's making sense, and then take it from there.
Great advice. I appreciate you sharing that. And, you know, I want to switch gears a little bit, still AI related, but I saw on LinkedIn that recently you prepared a class for teachers on how AI can enhance learning. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that experience because I think that's just a great example of, using AI in our personal life in a way to better the world. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Absolutely. This was part of volunteering in Israel for the education ministry. So what they did, they called for people that want to help and shape the future of the education and come and teach the teachers. So I took this opportunity. I came to the school and with a group of teachers, and I started to teach them about AI, very basic, not fancy, the usual tools that everybody are using, like ChatGPT. I showed them Gemini and Claude, and we started very simple, like with the plan me a trip in Paris stuff. And then we went on to see how it can help the teachers to elevate their work, how they can personalize the materials for the kids. If someone, like they have different levels of knowledge in the classroom, how they can personalize the same material that they need to teach to different kind of knowledge levels, how they can come up with homework or classes, the real structure that they can use in the class instead of all the time reinvent the wheel and do a lot of research before every class. I get help from AI to do it. Brainstorm on ideas and even personal stuff like how to handle a tough conversation with a student, how to handle a conversation with a parent, stuff like that. For most of them, like the young people, they knew it, but they knew AI, they use it, but they elevated their skills. They understand the proper prompting, how you need to prompt. And we actually did live examples, and they prepared stuff that they actually told me, I'm going to use it. I'm actually going to use it in the classroom. So they told me they really benefited from it. And it's really fulfilling, to do volunteer work. We have busy life, we have busy schedules. And every time this volunteering stuff come up, I'm like, oh no, this is like the worst day. I have a tight deadline, but you have to go, you have to do it. And it feels amazing. And I recommend everyone to do some volunteer, even if you don't have time. Like you will find the time.
Yeah, there's a quote I love when you talk about volunteering that stuck with my whole life. It said, "Service is the rent we pay for living on the earth." Kind of speaking to volunteering. And if you have that mindset, you find the time to do it. Doesn't mean you can always find the time, and different times you have to scale back. But it's really about a mindset, right? Because it's not even so much about finding the time, it's about choosing what we want to prioritize with the time we have. And I find every time I prioritize volunteering or service, and obviously sometimes I'm much better than others, I get more out of it than probably the people I serve.
Absolutely. It's a really amazing feeling that stuck with you.
Yep. So I really appreciate you sharing that and that example. And I love how you said just find the time to do it. So AI is a great area. Thank you for sharing that. So now we're going to move on to the FP&A section where I ask some kind of standard questions around FP&A. So the first one I want to ask you, and I kind of customize this one a little bit since you've talked a lot about Gen AI, is what's your favorite Gen AI tool and why?
I would have to say ChatGPT. It's the best. I don't know. I tried them all. I have now a Gemini for work. It's also very, very good. But ChatGPT gives me the best answers. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
Got it. So big ChatGPT, and I probably use ChatGPT the most. I really like Claude for summary and certain things, and so I appreciate that. Next one. What do you believe is the number one technical skill that FP&A professionals need to master?
I would say Excel, but in a broader way of Excel. Like we all know Excel, we all use Excel on a daily basis, but Excel teaches you on the broader perspective how to handle data, large data sets, how numbers speak to each other. So when I say Excel, I mean to understand data, to understand how it works, what impacts what. This is a fundamental skill that any analyst and any finance professional need to master.
100% agree. I like that you talked about the data. I came from a data background. I worked for a couple of years in a data report role. I did a Master of Science in Information Management in addition to the finance. And having at least enough of the data, enough of the technical to have the conversations has been invaluable. I knew SQL, I understood data structure, and it helped with designing things in Excel. So I think understanding tables, knowing how to use tables, understanding kind of Power Query and some of those relationships can be incredibly valuable beyond just the understanding Excel and the tool. So I appreciate that one. It's a great one. Next one. What about softer human skills that FP&A professionals should master? What's that number one soft skill?
I think data storytelling or presentation skills. So you work so hard and your deliverables, it won't matter if you don't know how to deliver them. You need to deliver it clear in a precise way, simple language, like I mentioned earlier. So this is how you wrap your deliverable and present it, and make sure the narrative is going through like you wanted it to. Otherwise, you are just moving data from here to there, and nobody would care. It will not move the needle. Decisions need to be made, and you are responsible to give the best recommendation based on the data. So you need to do it properly. And thankfully, today there is more awareness to it. There are lots of courses and webinars and workshops. I personally find them very, very useful. I also took them. I continue to evolve my storytelling skills.
Data storytelling. Funny enough, just this morning, I actually trained 25 people at a large company, came in and did a presentation on data storytelling because that was the number one thing they wanted me to talk about to their team, and got a lot of great questions. So that's a huge skill. We all have to be able to influence and take that analysis and help it drive decision making. And the key to that is telling the story. If you can't put the story together, unfortunately, often your analysis goes nowhere. And that's always frustrating. You want to feel like the work you're doing, the analysis is driving the end decision. And without being able to tell that story in a way that helps people see why it's important, like you said, the analysis often goes to waste.
Yep.
All right. So we have a fun couple questions to get to know you personally. Just some I think I use ChatGPT to come up with a few of these. Sometimes I mix it up, sometimes I come up with them myself, sometimes I use AI. And so here's the ones we have. First one. I know you like to travel. So what's been your most enjoyable travel experience so far?
I think backpacking in Brazil was life changing, and I'm not exaggerating. First of all, backpacking is something else. It's not like any other trip that you can make when you sleep at the hotel. It's something else. You meet people from all over the world. You really get to feel the culture. Brazilian culture is amazing. The people there are like amazing. Their music, their food, the football. I loved everything about it. I spent more than 2 months in Brazil, and it was a long time ago. I didn't come back ever since. I really need to go back.
Thank you. That's a great one. Sounds like it was an amazing trip to be able to do that for 2 months. I've heard a lot of people share great stories about backpacking across countries. I haven't done a backpacking trip across the country. Most of mine have been backpacking in the hiking sense. I've done a 50-mile backpacking trip before, and that was amazing. So I love getting out and hiking and backpacking. That'd be fun to go see a country. I'd love to do Brazil. So thank you for sharing. All right. Obviously, you've traveled about quite a bit. So what's the most unusual food you've tried in all your travels?
So I know it sounds funny. Maybe it's not irregular to some people, but for me, I drank avocado shake in Sri Lanka, and like avocado is not going in a shake. Like I didn't know what it is. It was green. It looks, fresh, and I drank it. And I'm like, what is that? It's a it's a smooth avocado. Like you drink avocado. It was weird. Not for me. Even though I like avocado.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, sometimes like I love the food, but that is not the way to prepare it. I can't eat it that way. So, all right. Last get to know you question before we wrap up here. If you could instantly master any skill, could be personal or professional, what would that skill be?
I always wanted to know how to learn the piano, like play the piano. I always envy when I see people like playing the piano. It looks so effortless and the music is amazing. So I just wish I could learn. I know how to play like a guitar, but I don't know, piano seems too hard for me. I just maybe I will start one day, but I would love to just know how to play the piano.
Great one. Music is fun, and I struggle with music, so I'd love to instantly be able to do that. I'm basically tone deaf. My daughter will literally, if I start singing, she'll be like, "Dad, please stop. You're terrible."
Oh
She's
no.
very honest. She's at that age where she tells you what she's thinking. It's like, "Please, Dad, stop." So, music is an area I'd love to be better at. I've taken piano lessons, but it's definitely not something I'm good at. So, I like that one as well. All right. So, wrap up question before we let you go. If you could offer one piece of advice to our audience to be a better FP&A business partner, what advice would you give them?
To learn empathy. Empathy for yourself and empathy for your partners, for your business partners. Learn their pains, learn where they want to go and help them get there. And also be empathy with yourself. It's a hard work sometimes, but it pays off when you see the value that you bring to the business.
Great. Thank you. Empathy is one I often get when I ask people what's the number one skill we need to learn, as I've started to have more and more people say empathy. And I always love that because I think it's underutilized. I think sometimes people confuse empathy with sympathy, and they're different things. And so I love that answer. And I love that you said have empathy for yourself, because we're the hardest on ourselves. And so that's important to have. It's something we have to learn. So thank you for sharing that one. I think that's great advice. And as we wrap up here, if someone wants to learn more about you or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Go to LinkedIn. Reach me on LinkedIn. You can DM me or post and comment on my posts. I would love to hear back from you.
Great. Well, we'll put your information in the show notes so people can reach out to you. And thank you so much, Raheli, for joining me today. It's a real pleasure to chat with you. I love what you're doing around AI, and I think it's great. Keep up the great work. And thanks for carving out some time to chat with me today.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. You have an amazing podcast. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thanks for listening to FP&A Tomorrow. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and a review on your podcast platform of choice. This allows us to continue to bring you great guests from around the globe. As a reminder, you can earn CPE credit by going to earmarkcpe.com, downloading the app, taking a short quiz, and getting your CPE certificate. To earn continuing education credits for the FPAC certification, take the quiz on Earmark and contact me, the show host, for further details.